So today we are going to see another topic which falls under JavaScript asynchronous. Okay, so today we are going to learn about the promise and the promise chaining. Okay, so let's get started. So in JavaScript, a promise is a good way to handle asynchronous operations. It is used to find out the asynchronous operation is successful, completed or not. A promise may have one of three states. Let me write down over here. Promise states pending, fulfill, and the last one is rejected. Okay, so a promise starts in a pending state. That means the process is not complete. If the operation is successful, the process ends in a fulfilled state, and if an error occurs, the process ends in a rejected state. For example, when you request data from the server by using a promise, it will be in a pending state. When the data arrives successfully, it will be in a fulfilled state. If an error occurs, then it will be in a rejected state. Okay, so let's create a promise. I'll save this file as a create promise.js. Okay, so this is my file I have created. So let's see first the constructor. So what we are going to do to create a promise object, we use the promise constructor. So that let say promise equal to new promise. Inside that we have to provide resolve and reject and do something. Okay, so the promise constructor takes a function as an argument. The function also accepts two functions, resolve and reject. Okay, which you have seen. So let's suppose that the program below is an the example which we are going to see. Okay, is a asynchronous program. Then the program can be handled by using the promise. Okay, so let me put it the example over here. Okay, so this is the example. Let me this one. Okay, so this is, you can see, count value is my variable. Okay, of created object of promise function resolve and reject. Okay, sorry this. Okay, now let's run this program and we'll see the results. Let me save it first. You can see promise, there is a count value. Okay, so it's a, what is saying, it's a resolve. Okay, so in the example program, above program, a promise object is created that takes two functions, resolve and reject. Resolve is used to, if is used if the process is successful, and reject is used when an error occurs in the promise. Okay, the promise is resolved if the value of count is true. Okay, now let's talk about the promise chaining. What is the promise chaining? So let me create one file over here. So promises are useful when you have to handle more than one asynchronous task, okay, one after another. For that we use promise chaining. Okay, so you can perform an operation after a promise is resolved using method then, catch and finally. Okay, so we'll learn each and every method. Okay, so let's save this file as a then promise chaining. Okay, so this is the file. See, the then method is used with the callback when the promise is successful, fulfilled, or resolved. Okay, syntax is, let me write down the syntax. Reject dot then on fulfill and on rejected. Okay, and let's take the example. Okay, so this is the example. You can see the count value. Okay, the object has been created for promise function. Okay, this is resolve, promise resolve, count value dot then. Okay, so this is the then function we are using it. Okay, passing a function successful value. Okay, result, console, and then function successful value. So let's run this and we'll understand everything on that. So let me write down node, then promise. So you can see promise resolve, right? And you can call multiple function this way. You can call multiple function this way. So in the above program, the then method is used to chain the function to the promise. Okay, the then method is called when the promise is resolved successfully. So what exactly happened? My promise is resolved, right, and successfully. So that's why this method is showing over here. Okay, now let's talk about the another method, catch. So let me save it as a catch promise chaining. Okay, the catch method is used with the callback when the promise is rejected or if an error occurs, right? So here is an example. Okay, so you can see that I have used catch over here. Okay, function given over here. So if my some error occurred, then catch will be executed if there is any error occurred. Okay, so let's run this. Promise rejected. You can see that. Okay, promise rejected, right? So in this program, the promise is rejected and the catch method is used with the promise to handle error. Okay, so this is how now let's talk about the difference between promise and callback. Promises are similar to callback function in a sense that they both can be used to handle asynchronous tasks. Remember this part. JavaScript callback function can also be used to perform synchronous tasks. Okay, their difference can be summarized in the following points. So let me create a one file over here and we write down the points. Okay, first we'll talk about. Okay, first we talk about the JavaScript promises. Okay, so the syntax is user friendly and easy to read. Okay, error handling is easy to manage. Okay, let me save this file as promise.js. Okay, this is my file. Okay, now let's see the some of the example of like API. Okay, API. Okay, there's some way I'm not able to write down. Okay, API. Uh-huh. That is a problem. Okay, so let me open the notepad where I can provide you the details. Okay, till the time we'll understand about the JavaScript code. See, the syntax is difficult to understand. So these are the different. Like in JavaScript promise, the syntax is user friendly and easy to read. But in JavaScript callback, the script is difficult to understand. Okay, in promise, error handling is easier to manage, and the callback error handling is maybe hard to manage it. Okay, so let's take some examples. Let me write down over here. Function result, right? Return API to, okay, dot then function. Inside this I write down result 2. Okay, then return API 3. Okay, so this is how we are going to use it. Okay, that dot, then function result 3. Okay, do some work, do work. Okay, then dot catch function error. Okay, handle any error. Okay, so this is Java promise. Now if you talk about JavaScript, callback. Okay, so what would be API? See, I'm writing the same one in the form of callback. Result. Okay, API to function result 2. Okay, API 3. Function result 3. Okay, do some work, whatever we want to do. Okay, then if error. Okay, then again do something code over here, and else, right, do something. Okay, so this is how we write in JavaScript. Okay, now let's talk about the finally. So let me create another file and save it as a finally promise chaining .js. Okay, so you can also use the finally method with the promises. The finally method gets executed when the promise is either resolved or successfully or rejected. Okay, so like it's the same the try catch, we use finally with the try and catch. So whether it's a successful or any error occurred, my finally code, the code which I have written in the finally, it will be execute always. Okay, the same thing over here. So this is my example. You can see that finally I have written over it. Let's run it. The code is executed. Okay, so this is how we use. So there are different methods, promise methods like all settled, any, race, rejected, reject, resolve, catch, then finally, which we have already seen. Okay, so this is how is going to be worked. Okay, so now let's take another topic which we have, which is called a JavaScript async or a wait. Okay, so this is one of the example. Let's see. So basically, in this tutorial, we use the async keyword with a function to represent the function is an asynchronous function. Okay, remember that. So and the async function returns a promise. This is you need to understand. So let me save this file async.js. Okay, and write down to the function name param 1, param 2, so on, param n. Okay, so this is the syntax of using a async. Okay, so remember that when you're using a async method, that means you are representing that the function is a asynchronous function. Okay, name is the name of the function. Parameters, well, the parameters you are passing for the function. Okay, so let's take an example, a small example of asynchronous function. Okay, so you can see async function f console dot like function, and what it will return is returning a promise, okay, to resolve one. And now I'm calling this function. So let's run this function and we'll see the results of this. So see async function. Okay, see the async keyword is used before the function to represent that the function is asynchronous. Okay, since the function returns a promise, you can use the chaining method then like this. Okay, so let me save this file. Okay, uh, async with chaining .js. Okay, and this is my example. You can see that, right? I'm using a then method also over here along with that. Now let's run it. Now you can see async and is resolved and given answer 1. Okay, so in this function f function is resolved and then method get executed. So this is how we can use async with the promise chaining. Okay, now let's talk about the word await. Okay, await keyword. The await keyword is used inside the async function to wait for the asynchronous operation. Okay, what is the syntax? Let me say file first, await.js. Okay, so it would be let result equal to await promise. Okay, so the use of await pauses the async function until the promise return a result, either it's a resolve or reject. Okay, value. So the example of this would be, so this is the function program. You can see I have created a one promise over here. This is my async function. Okay, in this, what I have done, I have say that result would be await. Okay, unless my promise will be resolved or rejected. Okay, so now let's run this and we'll see. So you can see promise resolved and printed as a hello over here. Okay, so in this program, a promise object is created and it gets resolved after 4 milliseconds. Okay, this is what you have seen, 4000 millisecond. Here the async function is written using the async function. Okay, the await keyword waits for the promise. This await keyword is wait for the promise to be complete. Okay, hello is displayed only after promise value is available to the result. Okay, and in the above program, you can see if wait is not used, hello is displayed before promise resolved. Okay, so this is how we can use it. So the async function is or allows the asynchronous method to be executed in a seemingly synchronous way through the operation is asynchronous. It seems that the operation is executed in synchronous manner. This can be useful if there are multiple promises in the program. Okay, so for that, let's see another example. Okay, now let's say promise 1, let promise 2, let promise 3. Okay, my async function, my function name. Now I write let I'll copy this and paste it. Okay, so this will be 2 2. free. Okay, so in this program, await awaits for each promise to be completed. Okay, so this is how we use for multiple promises. Okay, now the next topic is we see the error handling. Okay, while using the async function, you write the code in a synchronous manner, and you can also use the catch method to catch the error. For example, you can write down in a way async function dot catch. Okay, catch error. So this is how we can use it. So let me save this file. Error handling await dot js. Okay, and I'll comment this part. Okay, now let's see the example for this. Okay, so you can see, this is the program where my async function I have, and I have mentioned the error also over here. Okay, so let's run this program and see. So now you can see the results. Why is so in this above program we have used try catch block to handle the errors. If the program runs successfully, it will go to the try block, and if the program throws an error, it will go to the catch block. Okay, and if we have already covered try catch in the exception handling session, so you can go through into that. I have given a link in the description box. Okay, so benefit of using a async function, let's understand. See, the code is more readable than the calling using a callback or a promise. This is the first thing. Error handling is much simpler, and debugging is easier. So these are some of the benefits of using a async function. Okay, see these two keywords async, await, were introduced in the newer version of JavaScript ES8. Some older browser may not support to the use of async await. Okay, so remember this part. Okay, so far if you like this video, please subscribe, share, and follow, and hit the like button. And if you have not subscribed it, please subscribe and hit the bell icon so you can get the notifications. So now let's talk about the last topic, in the asynchronous is a set interval. Okay, so what is a set interval? Java script set interval is, we have already seen it in when we talk about the set timeout. Okay, so in JavaScript a block of code can be executed in a specific time interval. Okay, these time intervals are called timing event. There are two methods for executing code at a specific interval. They are set interval and the set timeout. Set interval we are going to see, and the set time we have already seen in the part 8. Okay, so in this part of this video, we are going to understand the set interval method. Okay, so the set interval method repeats a block of code at every given timing event. Okay, but in the set time out, it's execute only once. This is the part you need to remember. So let me save this file as a set interval.js. Okay, and write it down. Set interval function and milliseconds. Okay, so this is the syntax. Okay, these are the parameters. You can see the function and the millisecond. Okay, function is the function which we have to execute, and the millisecond the time interval between the execution of the function. Okay, now the set interval method returns an interval id which is a positive integer. It's the same like we have seen in the set time out method. Okay, so let's take example and moving ahead, and we'll see it. So this is the function, a simple program where we have a function called greet, and we are calling a set interval. So let's run this program and we'll see the results. Now you can see hello world. Okay, after 1 second, and it's typing after every second, right? Let me let me terminate this one. Okay, so this is how we can use the set interval. Okay, now you need to remember this part. The set interval method is useful when you want to repeat a block of code multiple times. Okay, like we have shown in the this example. Okay, now let's take some another example. Okay, let me open this and create a file called save as a display time dot js. Okay, so this is my file and I'm going to use this function. It's basically a simple function where what I'm going to do, I am going to use a date time function. Okay, date time using a date time and showing it over here. So let's run this program. So now let's see. Now you can you see that in the 6 seconds it's a 5 seconds difference. Okay, so this is how we can use set intervals. This is one of them. Okay, now the same is clear interval, which we have already seen. I'm not going to repeat the same thing. Okay, which we have already seen in the set timeout. Please go to part 8 where we have discussed in the details about the set timeout and the clear interval. Okay, you can see, you can view into that how we can use a clear interval to terminate our either a set timeout or a set interval. Okay, so this is how we can handle the asynchronous calls into a JavaScript by using a set timeout, set interval, promise chaining by using a async or await keywords. Okay, I hope you like this video. Please follow, subscribe and share our channel. Thank you very much.